Things I did in my 30s and in my 40s that are definitely paying off now that I am 50. Hi, welcome back to my channel. My name is Aibel. I am 50 years old and I am here on YouTube sharing stories of my past and some of the present things that I find very helpful and that perhaps you might find helpful as well. So about a week ago, I posted a video about a conversation that I would have with my 30-year-old self. And that video really left me thinking about some of the things that I started to either incorporate or eliminate in my 30s and in my 40s, and how it's been so helpful throughout the years and what a difference it is really making now that I am 50 years old. So I am summarizing this with a list of 8 things that I think have been the most important ones. I'm sure there's others, but these 8 things I think have definitely made a big difference in my life, and I'm going to share those with you today. So let's start with number 1. And number 1 is not an easy one. I will give you that disclaimer. It is dealing with uncomfortable feelings, and that can mean many different things to different people, but basically it is allowing certain feelings and experiences to sort of rise again in your life so that you can deal with them at a deeper level. So I'll give you an example for me. By the age of 30, I had already lost my parents, and of course I grieved their loss, but I also know that my life was busy, that I was raising children, and I was not emotionally available to really go too deep into just, coming to terms and dealing with my grief at a deeper level. So I know that I started doing that later on, probably late 30s, early 40s. And it was a long process. Definitely not an overnight process, a long process, something that made me sad, something that made me feel uneasy. But I will tell you that in the long run, it was so helpful. And I really did come to terms. I really did come to terms with some of the aspects of their loss that was very difficult for me for years. So that, along with other experiences, perhaps some resentments, perhaps anything that has happened in your life that you've tucked away for a while because you're just not ready to deal with it. Well, at some point we do, and at some point for most of us we must. And I will tell you that in the long run it is worth it. It's worth doing that work and sitting with those feelings that perhaps are uncomfortable now, but you need to come to terms with them. And I know that is something that I did for a while in my 40s. And of course, I'm still working on some things now, but there are some big things in my life that I definitely was able to sort of make peace with. So let's go to number 2. Number 2 was incorporating daily practices. And that actually helped me with number 1, of course. In my late 30s and early 40s, I started to discover the power of some daily habits like gratitude, writing things down, performing like daily affirmations, waking up every day with a grateful heart and starting my day in prayer. These are all things that I started to slowly discover and incorporate into my day-to-day. And I became very disciplined about it. I still am. I mean, they've changed over the years. They haven't remained exactly the same, but their essence has. And I found it very helpful then, and I find it extremely helpful now. And I'm really glad that I discovered these practices because they're a big part of my life and they create a lot of joy in my life. Let's move on to number 3, working on my relationship with God. So I think as a result of number 1, that was difficult and just kind of makes you search for God a little bit to hold on to Him for strength. And number 2, which is, kind of incorporating spiritual practices into your day-to-day life. Number 3 just started to happen naturally, and my relationship with God became stronger and better and deeper, and I am so grateful to that for that because it has ultimately changed my life for good forever. And by the way, this doesn't need to mean that you're going to church or you're part of a religion, or it doesn't. If it does, it's great. I am personally, but it doesn't have to mean that, because for many years I did not go to church regularly, and my relationship with God was not based on any religion whatsoever. So it doesn't need to be defined by any one religion. If it is, that's great, and if it isn't, that's great as well. But if you don't know where to start, I will give you one little easy suggestion, and that is start with a conversation. Start with a conversation with God. Like if you were talking to anyone else, your friend, your family, just start with a simple conversation and just allow it to lead the way. And I promise you, it will change your life forever. For me, it's been an incredible journey. My spiritual journey, which continues to this day, is very much defining of the person that I am, and I'm very grateful for that. We're on number three. We're on number 4. I told you I was gonna mess up the order. We're on number 4, and number 4 is making time for my husband and myself to spend time alone. I definitely was mindful of this one, even when my kids were little. And I know it's very hard, and we didn't always have babysitters, but when we did, we definitely took advantage of that. And even when we didn't, we would always make some time for ourselves, just to be alone, to be together, to have a conversation without kids being around, to talk about other things but the kids, and to connect. Over time, as the kids got older, then it got a little bit easier. Then we started to develop hobbies together, things we enjoy doing together. And I will tell you, this is very important. If you have young children, please start doing this now. Make the time for each other. And by the way, we didn't always go out with other people, with friends or with family. We did a lot of things, just the two of us, and that has paid off like you can't imagine. Now we're 50, our children are out of the house, and we're not strangers to each other. We're just, doing the same things that we started to develop over time many, many years ago. We love long walks, we love the beach, we love to go out and dine out, and we can do it with others, and that's great and fun and wonderful, but we could also just be by ourselves and we connect like we always have. So it's really important to take care of that relationship. You're gonna have it for a long time, God willing. And after the kids are out of the house, you wanna know each other. You wanna know each other, and you wanna have a good and happy life together. Okay, where are we? Number 5. Number 5 is another difficult one, but a must, and that is practice forgiveness. Forgive others, forgive yourself, and try to reach that point where you are a forgiving person. With practice, it gets easier. I will say that. With practice, it gets easier. And it's hard sometimes, and I know not everything is at the same level of forgiveness, and I get it. Some things are very hard, but I will tell you it's important. And I'm gonna say something else that some might agree or disagree with. It's unconditional, and you're not doing it for the other person. You are doing it for yourself and your inner peace, and that is definitely worth it. So whatever you need to do, and however you need to get there, I hope that you do, because it is very, very important to be a forgiving person, and it's going to change your life for sure. Which brings me to my next point, and that is number 6. Number 6 is finding peace. And this is an ongoing process. Of course, I'm not always at peace. I'm not always forgiving. I'm not always any of these things, but I strive to be, and that's the important factor, right? And I think that peace, having peace with yourself, with others, just living in peace, and not allowing anyone to disturb that, by the way, is very, very important. And that is a process that I started in my 30s and in my 40s, when I started all these other things that I talked about, right? And sometimes it's uncomfortable and it's a bumpy road, but it leads to peace. You will find peace eventually. Eventually, I promise. Another thing that I did that's a little bit unrelated but also very important is that in my 40s, by then I had gone back to work and been a stay-home mom, sort of back and forth a couple of times. But in my 40s, I started to really focus more on creating a career for myself, developing my career, and I went back to work, and it's the job that I have now. which I will talk about that process a little bit more in depth in a separate video because it's an interesting one. But it was really important that I did that. Not only was it helping us financially, but it has been incredible for me to have something of my own now that my kids are grown. They don't need me the same way. They don't live at home. And, you know, I really don't have that job anymore. I kind of got fired. I'm just kidding. But I don't have that job anymore. And I started to develop, you know, my career a little bit further, a little bit better and greater. And that's wonderful because now I'm in a really good place in my career. I have a great job, and you know, it's not just my kids and my motherhood that defines me. There's other aspects of my life too that are bringing me a lot of joy and a lot of happiness. So maybe, you know, at some point you find that it's the right time for you to develop that, unless you're already doing it and you never stop. But in my case, I did take some breaks in between. But in my 40s, I started to work on that again, and now it's paid off for sure because I have a great job and I love what I do. So this is it. I think I've reached number 8. I'm sorry if it was a little bit messy, but I promise you one thing, it's been honest. And that's really what I'm here to do, to just be honest and share true stories and things that have worked for me and things that continue, like I said, to pay off even now. I hope you've enjoyed this video. I hope you subscribe. I hope you come visit again. I will make another video very shortly about some of these things that I've touched on today that perhaps we'll just talk about a little bit more in depth. Thank you so much. God bless, and see you soon.